we can understand the strategic importance of this site. From here, we can see Nazareth, we can see the Jezreel Valley, we see Mount Tabor, we see Afula and Givat HaMoreh, we see the Gilboa. Okay, here is the route of the fathers, route number 60. If you carry on this way, you get to Jenin. You carry on, you go through the Shomron to Nablus. Okay, to Hebron, all the way to Hebron and to Beersheba. Okay, route number 60. We have the hills of Samaria there in the distance. And if we go right here at the junction, we go into Wadi Ara. Okay, and we go that way and we get to the coast, which is the Via Maris. Okay, the Via Maris road that comes up here and then splits. Okay, so we're sitting in a very, very strategic place. Now, the most famous battle that happened here, the First World War.
It's in Tahmuz the third.
It's not the First World War with the Turks and the Germans against the British. We're talking about Thutmose.
Yes.
Okay, Thutmose, yes, who comes from the south, from Egypt, and he wants to conquer Megiddo. The people of Megiddo are waiting for him. Where are they waiting for him to come?
Via Maris.
They're going to taking for him to come from this direction. Why is he going to come from the north? We have here Wadi Milech. You know Wadi Milech? Okay. Why? Because Wadi Milech is wide. It's the most accessible. If you're coming with an army, with your chariots, with your camels, with your donkeys, with your horses, I don't know what they came with, okay? An army, you need space for your army. The way in Wadi Ara was very, very narrow. So narrow that they had to be one behind the other in a single file. And so it's not common sense for an army to invade on such a road. They're going to come from there. So the people of Megiddo were on watch this way. Who's coming this way?
Nobody.
And Thutmose decides we are going to go through Wadi Ara. Wow. And his officers say to him, but it's not right, because what's going to happen, the people in the front are going to be killed and the people in the back aren't even engaged in battle yet. And he said, this is what we're going to do, and I'm going to lead you. He did something that we thought in the Israeli army, that the officer goes in the front, not stays behind and gives orders. In the Israeli army, the officer is in the front of his soldiers to encourage them. And so Thutmose, he said, I'm going to go first and everybody follow me. And they came here and they surprised the people of Megiddo. And they had a big battle at the base because they had their soldiers waiting at the bottom, only they were facing this way. They surprised them. And the soldiers of Megiddo scatter and they start running back to the city, to go back inside the city, to close the gates. If the Egyptians had followed them, the war would have been over very fast. But what happened with the Egyptians?
They gave them chance.
Siege.
They stayed to rob the spoils from the battle. The gold and the armor and the swords. They started, oh, there's a nice sword. I want that one. I want this. I want that. And they started robbing the bodies instead of going after them into the city. And so what happened was the people of Megiddo, even though they were surprised at first, they managed to back into the city to close the gates. And they were under siege for a few months before Thutmose actually conquered the city through the walls of the city. Okay? And that is what happens when you are greedy and you don't continue the fight and you stop fighting to start gather gold. You're going to lose the fight. It costs you more. Okay? But that was the first battle here on Megiddo that is documented in temples in Egypt. We have the story of this battle. And he writes there that if they hadn't stopped to steal, they would have conquered the city immediately. In other words, he even writes down that they made a mistake, which I think is also pretty cool, that he admitted that they made a mistake. Okay? So we understand the importance of this. In World War I, now we're talking modern World War I, the Turks and the German forces fought here against the French and the British, and General Allenby defeated the Turkish army here at Megiddo. And this is a turning point in the war. And after the war, General Allenby is awarded a lordship from the Queen. And they said to him, who would you, well, it was the king actually, the king. And they say, what would you like to be lord of? And he said, I want to be Lord of Armageddon. This is where we fought the battle between the evil and the good forces. The Germans and are the evil forces. The British are the good forces. And we destroyed the evil. And in the future, this is also the site of Gog and Magog, the Armageddon, the end of time. Okay, it's the last battle between the forces of God and the forces of evil are supposed to take place here. And I want to be Lord of Armageddon. So till today, General Allenby's family, they are Lord of Armageddon. Armageddon is a mispronunciation. In Greek, Har Megiddo, Armageddon. Okay, it's like Capernaum is Kfar Nahum. Okay, Kfar Nahum, Capernaum. Mispronunciations changed the name. Okay, so when you have Christian groups like this group that was here, they were standing there. What they normally do is they open the book of Revelations and they read from the book of Revelations, the book of John, telling the story of Armageddon, of the world, the end of time before the Messiah is going to come again. Judgment Day. Okay. What we looked at over there is the sacred area. And what we have there is level after level after level after level of temples from all different time periods. What do we say in archaeology? A holy site stays a holy site stays a holy site. It might not be holy to the same God, but it's still a holy site.
Preserve.
So you preserve. If you have a pagan site, sometimes that pagan site became a holy site to another religion, and then another religion and another religion. We see this in many places in Israel. We see places where we have a synagogue and a mosque and a church, one on top of the other. Okay? And sometimes they were on top of an even older pagan place. A holy site stays a holy site, stays a holy site. And no better do we see that here in Megiddo, where we have layer after layer after layer of temples that the Americans discovered here. And when did they stop seeing temples here?
After the Israelis.
In the Israelite period.
Israelite period.
Because in the Israelite period, we don't pray to idols. We have the temple in Jerusalem. But then we do have a period where we separate Israel and Judah. And we know that there is temples in Dan and in Beit El. And here also they found four-cornered, like you saw in the movie, they found altars
Shrines?
that are Israelite shrines that were used for a certain period until, again, the time of Josiah. What did Josiah do? He told that people no more, only in the temple, and they had to bury them and hide them in the walls. We saw that in Tel Sheva, we saw in Tel Arad, that they buried them, they hid them, and here too they found them hidden in the walls. It's not something that was used anymore. Now the most impressive one is that round altar with the 7 steps going up. It is huge. They found animal bones there. In other words, this was used for sacrifices, and not kosher ones, because they also found a lion bone. A lion. Yes. We used to have lions once upon a time. In Israel, we had lions, we had bears. Okay, so there was a lion bone. So it is, it's a whole, sometimes 7 is very often a holy number in many different religions and many different traditions. A lucky number, a holy number, a special number, sacred number. So that is a Canaanite period altar. They found older ones and they found later ones, but it all stopped in the Israelite period. Okay? Questions?
Yes.
Yes.
So you said that Pharaoh Necho killed
Josiah.
Josiah in 609 here.
Yes.
Where does it took place?
It's written in the Bible.
Only in the Bible?
It's in the
There is
Bible
no
and
evidence?
also in, no, there's no evidence here, but there's also the pharaohs wrote about their history as well.